everything is divine timing, and there comes the time for us to release old traumas. This is what healing is. Now, I understand that because what we have gone through has brought me back to traumas in the past, things that I know are affecting my life right now, this moment, and have affected the way I do things, the way I see things, and the things that I do and want to do. I know that traumas in the past have affected the way what I eat, what I do business-wise, and how I do it, which that's okay, except that it's made me take on responsibilities that I shouldn't have taken on. It's made me do things that I shouldn't have been doing, I had no responsibility to be doing, where I can see just from the work that we've been doing how it's completely connected to trauma from when I was a small child. So yeah, it just makes perfect sense that it's just things that happened to us that maybe we can't even remember, or I think we do remember, but we don't remember that it was damaging, but it's affecting what we're doing right now. We don't even know.
You're not aware of how the past is still in the present within your consciousness, that your reactions to certain circumstances in your life are actually being projected from the past into your reality now. And from that lovely deep meditation we just did earlier this morning, and how you connected to it very deeply and emotionally, you're like, wow, Bernie, I didn't realize I was eating to try and defend my body, or etc. So that's why this deep journeying, and then learning how to let it go with love and peace, and understand that whatever all the people involved in the past didn't really deliberately try to be unkind or whatever in your life. They did the best that they could do from their learning experience. And I really felt you really connected to that this morning earlier.
Really, really, really deep. It's an unconscious thing as well. You're kind of doing it without knowing you're doing it.
Well, you're doing it from a deep old memory from the past. And, you know, that little child was making that sandwich from a sense of looking for loving, nurturing, protection. And actually, we eat food for different reasons. The main reason is really to support and keep our body healthy. We're emotionally unstable in certain areas of our life. Actually, the body is asking for certain types of food to protect the body physically. That's actually what's happening. But as you grow more and more in personal love and sense of deep self-protection, you will naturally not want to eat that kind of food. It'll be just a very natural process of letting it go. So
I feel already to some extent that there's not the same, because there's actually a palpable difference from before meditation and afterwards. But it only come over me, once a week or once every 4 days, or even maybe more than that. But there is a drive or addiction to eat something that I know is not good for me. Something full of carbs. And
now it's a child. Maybe you weren't aware.
Oh no, I wouldn't have been aware as a child. I wouldn't have the information. But
now you realize also, Alan, that the way to walk away easily and peacefully from, you use the word addiction, and there are many different forms of addiction, is really building up self-love, because you build up such a frequency of an awareness of self-love that you just don't want to do anything to harm your body.
Yeah.
There is a process to build up that self-love. But this is what we're doing, and you are moving fast. And
I also feel that once, the thing about it being hidden, the thing about before doing the work with you is it's a little bit hidden, it's in the unconscious, and because it's hidden, you don't know why you're doing what you're doing. And it's like a cockroach, when you shine a light on it, the cockroach scampers, but suddenly these bad feelings, just by putting an awareness and a light on them, they nearly dissipate within themselves to some extent. I think you probably have to do the work over a long time, but even the awareness makes a big difference.
Well, actually, the secret is awareness. From there, once you're aware and you become conscious of your subconscious shadow energies, you're free then, because then you can say, now I'm aware of it, it's happening, I'm going to stop doing it. Now, some of the shadow energies might take a while to leave, but that's the key, Alan. You're aware of it. In a moment, we'll talk about, I work with these 12 responsibilities of mastery of your life, study of putting these principles into action in your ordinary, everyday life. And then when I say ordinary, it's not ordinary. Ordinary, everyday life is actually marvelous. But you put these principles into action, and it brings you more and more and more into self-awareness. And in that, You become aware of why you are acting in this way. You have the power to let go of the negative attachments. As you let go of those negative attachments, you're making room, more space within the consciousness for light and love to come through. You know yourself of what you are, that you are God's source energy, you are love, and you just become a machine of that in your life rather than the machine of negative realities.
I'll just start again. Everything is divine, right timing, and there comes the time for all of us to release old traumas. And we did talk a lot about that, releasing old traumas. I think it's very. This is what healing is: letting go of the past connections of grief, shock, denial, abandonment, anger, guilt, etc. Those attachments to the past are the root causes of all that our pain and unhappiness, physical and emotional sickness, will grow more and more when we refuse to accept change and cling to the old way of being. And I agree 100% with that, because I can even see from just a lightness from going through the meditation. I also feel that there was a point where I was getting certain pains, and I was also worried about diabetes and stuff like that. But I do feel that a lot of it, the pains in the head, and I was getting pains on my right hand side as well. And a lot of them have released or dissipated. I know that the headache's completely gone.
This has occurred during the period and the time that you've been practicing that meditation.
Healing involves letting go of the past and allowing expansion growth of the new consciousness. Through the letting go process, we create the space for new ways of thinking and being to enter our reality. Our thoughts create our reality, and the life experience we have inside and outside of us. By changing our thought patterns, which we've learned from our youth, we actually reprogram our mind and reality. I used a list of 12 attitudes of responsibilities to change and maintain a higher state of consciousness, thus changing mind into a more positive, joyful, abundant experience. It's interesting what you're saying there as well, that we are holding on to traumas from our past, and it can manifest as just a heaviness, or I think in me it manifests as a sadness, but it does affect our current day reality. If it was just something that happened in the past and you could leave it there, that would be fine. But it does affect our current day reality, how we interact with people, and how we even, from the thoughts and feelings, I think particularly from the feelings that we have day in, day out, that does create the experiences that we have around us. So I think you're absolutely right that, yeah, we can deal with these things that happened in the past, or even shine a light on them. It does release a lot so we can create new things for today.
Absolutely. And I love your choice of word, shine a light on that. Literally what is the key to dissolving and releasing the memory of the negative attachments of the past is shining light on them. And that's the love of God, the light of source. And that is the most powerful tool to remove those memories as part of your reality in your everyday life now, and bringing in a completely new reality.
I do think that I've always kind of known about my past and how I grew up, but going into the meditation for me made it very, very real, and it felt like being there again. I think you kind of do need that. There's no point, just knowing about it really isn't enough, because I think to release it you really need
going deeply into the experience and accepting that that's what happened, not to be in denial of it. But remember, in that meditation also, we went back. We had prepared the journey with light and love, okay? And with that light and love, in the meditation, I felt it, you felt it, it's amazing, beautiful, protective expansion of love and light. So it's important to go back in that sense of security, because that time was a fearful time for the inner child. So we do go back into that place in the memory, which is a reality in your consciousness now, but we went back in complete, total protection.
Yeah.
Well, I went back with you. I helped you back there.
It is a very real experience. A lot of the emotions and depending on what a person's experience might have been.
The journey's got to be taken very carefully.
It could be serious.
A friend of hers, in her life experience, she said, and another thing, she's got all these cats. Is that one of the reasons you don't like this person? She says, yes. And I said, why do you dislike cats so much? Oh, my mother had so many cats. Everywhere there's cats on the kitchen table, there's cats in the bedroom. I hate cats. And I said, Well, that's not a reason to hate your friend. You can see, so it's from her perception, experience. The cat's brought forward her negative reaction, and she threw that back on her friend. So where's the truth? So this process is to help us to get beyond the perceptions back to truth. Okay, so the next one is called self-containment, and that is about taking total responsibility and accepting that at all times you are accountable for directing your own personal energy.
Right.
You are accountable, not the other person. So if you bring that into your awareness, it's very powerful. So it is you who upsets you. Only you have the power to upset yourself.
Right.
So this kind of connecting with the victim-victimizer game, blame game, stop that and accept who you are. You can say, oh God, it's really hard to do that, but it's very powerful once you start practicing it. Releases so much negative attachment.
Yeah, no, I do understand that. I remember Anthony DeMello, years dead now, but he used to talk about that. He used to have a story about a guy who would go up to buy a paper every day from a place, and but every day the newspaper vendor was really rude to him. He was like, "What the hell are you doing here? I hate you. What do you come here?" He was with a friend, and the friend said, "Why do you buy a paper?" Well, he doesn't control where I buy my paper, how I feel, and that I control that. But the other thing I wanted to ask you, just as you were saying there, was you were talking about controlling your own personal energy, and sometimes when you're with other people or you spend a lot of time with other people, there's a kind of mixing of energies, and I think sometimes there's a dominant person who kind of controls the overall energy. I think part of this, the spiritual learning, is learning that you are controlling your own energy, and you don't become, if you're in someone else's presence, you don't become their energy. I think that happens with some people.
Yeah, that's a very good point about self-containment, being yourself. There's later on in the process I will be teaching about engaged detachment, so that you're engaging with the person, but you're not attaching yourself to their negative energy fields, because you're self-containing yourself, taking responsibility for yourself. And in that awareness, you can see the person as they truly are, because you're them through the experience of compassion and love.
Right.
So that you can if a person is over, controlling, dominate the situation, it is because behind that there's a fear.
Yes.
There's an anxiety, there's some trauma. And they've built up this way of being to help themselves feel more secure.
Yeah.
So all of this process helps you to become more aware and very wise to what's actually really happening around you, and that then you become a person in society that you're not attaching around you, because you've detached from your own also, by the way. You must be able to detach from your own shadows and negative energy. So this process teaches you this. So we can, as I said earlier, we can talk about all the negative stuff that's going on in your life. Yes, that's good to go back and become aware of it, but the meditation that we did, we put in love and light.
Yes.
Into that situation. So principles also, the self-actualization, self-sovereignty, self-containment, this is all really high frequency.
Yeah.
That we are feeding our consciousness with. Like you put physical food into your body, we're now putting a physical process, actually, emotional process, into our consciousness. That's going to gently push out, ease away. Imagine you have a sweeping brush, but that dust on the floor, and you're sweeping and picking up and you're putting it away. This energy, this information helps us to put that into action. Sweep away the hurts, the pain. So the more responsible you become for yourself, the greater the freedom and responsible empowerment you will know.
Right.
And self-containment comes when you recognize that the direction of personal energies, physical, emotional, mental, your ideas and beliefs, consciousness or subconsciousness, comes with free choice at any given moment. You can choose which action, which words you can use to interpret and invent an event. But remember, the perception that you have from your past it's like a curtain in front of you. It's not really allowing you to see the truth of the whole situation. This learning and this process and this teaching helps you to come back to the truth. So you're seeing through the eyes of wisdom, through God, putting these principles into action.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I can see now a lot of decisions that I made and a lot of things I did, and even the way I did things was based on, I don't know what you call it. The word that comes to mind is previous trauma. It does colour, you're absolutely right. It's like putting on the coloured sunglasses or having a curtain that it does colour everything that you are seeing. Yeah, it affects the decisions you're making. And I think we can all make the best decisions for ourselves when we see things clearly. Absolutely, it's like an advertisement. That there's an advertisement that shows you all of the great things about a product. You might think it's great, but you have to see the product clearly until you know whether you want to buy it or not.
Yeah, exactly. And understand, have the awareness why you need it. You need it from a negative emotional experience, or do you desire it because you know that it is for the good of all, for you and everyone around you? Yeah. Many people think they're making good decisions for themselves, but the results have not been good because they've made the decision from a perception, emotional need perception, nurtured from the past. So all of this work brings us to a point of awareness of knowing how to make better decisions.
If the decisions are being made from a need or to fill a void or to, heal something inside a person, I think something that I found is it can bring some initial success, but the success can be hollow and it can disappear very quickly as well.
It's not sustainable. It's not rooted from the right place, and if it's not rooted from the right place, it cannot grow continually in the right direction. Our design as this human machine, which is made up of body, emotional, spiritual energy, has been designed for a particular purpose and in a particular way to act in a particular way. Until we figure out what that is, we will be bumping around into misdirection and experiences that realize, I don't like that, I don't like it. So this is why this exercise of learning how to drive yourself correctly is very important and brings us into a completely different reality. I mean, I am still myself.
Yes.
Still get up in the morning and eat food. I am seeing life, this curtain is being opened right in front of my eyes, and I'm seeing everything differently. Like my cup of coffee in the morning is like, oh, it's just beautiful. So I'm not, in the past, I got up in the morning, I drank my cup of coffee, running out the door, jumping into my Jeep. I wasn't even aware I was drinking it. Now I do buy really, really good coffee. I love the flavor and sense of it. Everything that you're doing and the reality of now becomes more sensual, more real, more beautiful.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question about that? So there was a point. Yeah, there would have been a point in your past where it would have been more mechanical and you wouldn't have enjoyed the coffee the way you do now. And now there's much more enjoyment in life, like, drinking the coffee or even seeing leaves fall from the trees, and it's a much richer experience. And would this have happened in a flash, like it was one way and then it became another way, or would it have been little pieces, like you would get it for a little while and then it would go away, or get it for a little while and it would go away, or how did that work for you? I'm just curious.
That's a wonderful question. It was through my suffering, the uncomfortableness of this suffering, even though I sort of thought I had everything, cows and all of that, inside I was an unhappy camper. So that sense of suffering, I had enough of it. I said, God, literally God, and I had a great connection to God at that time, I can tell you. I had enough of this. This is it. I don't want it anymore. So that pushed me to seek more out of life. And once I made the decision, I remember one day, now when I was in my garden, I always felt great peace.
Yes.
I was in the garden one day, and I consciously remember this day, and I just went around and said, I don't know what is up there, who's there, what's around me, but I know there's more. There's a deep sense of knowing within me. I know there's more. Please show me. And then within a couple of days after that, the universe put in front of me information about this wonderful spiritual teacher. So off I went. And that's where I started this journey. Now, I'd already been down a route where I was working with a psychiatrist to help me understand a lot of things that happened to my life. But there was a point that I knew I needed more information.
Yeah.
And slowly, it was like, when I said there, you put that little seed in the ground, and it starts to put the roots down, That it pushes up its growth above through the soil, up into the earth. I just started to grow and grow and grow. Yes, there was a certain point of, wow, as you said, there is something in this. I'm feeling better and better and better. I'm enjoying life more and more.
Yeah.
And what became the truth for me was that, as you said earlier, that I started to see the true value in everything. But I did have beautiful, amazing ha-ha moments. I also had very deep, emotional moments of letting go. You know, as you attached this morning, you know, with our deep emotional,
Yes.
I did not do this journey alone. I had a wonderful spiritual guide and many other people around me as well, that I went to them for help. I asked for help. I did not do this on my own. And so, yeah, it is a very sacred, deep, personal growing experience.
You know, I think you're right. I think you can take yourself a certain amount of distance on your own, but I don't think you can really go where you need to go on your own. You know, it's like there has to be a grounding from the outside.
Yes, yeah. And you know, we're not meant to do anything alone, to design anything. I get up in the morning and I'm so grateful. I actually reflect upon the people that put the food on my table. I think about the men out in the fields growing the coffee bean. Maybe the driver who drove it to the store where I bought it. We are not alone. We cannot function. The clothes on your body, somebody made them, somebody designed them, somebody put them on a shelf somewhere, and you earned the money and you went and you bought it. So,
yeah,
you know, our life experience is a conscious, subconscious interconnection with everything. Is actually what media and negative perceptions and fear are presenting in drama. If you look at a nature program on television, they're the most beautiful, loving, cooperative community of everything working together to be. That is the way, if you nurture your life that way and be responsible for that way of being, through that you will see the real meaning of life.
I should just say at this point for people listening that Bernie's previous business was nature and gardens, because you were just talking about garden before, and I was thinking I probably should mention just to ground it in. And I think from knowing you that you've always, before you went on this journey, you've always had a certain connection to nature and to the beauty of nature, making nature beautiful. So it just, I wanted to mention that because it's
yes, yeah, it certainly was. It was a drive within me as a young person. I studied landscape design. I ended up creating healing gardens, and my passion with my work was to try and create gardens. But I discovered I was always working towards reflection from nature, and the people that I created the garden for loved my work. There was a really successful demand from my work. I wasn't fully aware at the time what I was doing, but now I am aware. Yeah. I don't do so much of that now. I am asked occasionally to create a healing garden, but I bring the person through the healing process as well. It's just not me creating a healing garden or setting. It is a much bigger process, yes, but it's nature has the wisdom of Mother Nature, which is also a creation from the God Factor. There is so much healing in it, and I know that we will touch on that another day as well, because it's very beautiful and very important.
Yeah, it is, and I think it's a big part of your journey. I don't think that anything that's kind of given to you in the past is wasted. I think that connection has always been there, and it's still there, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I cannot live without connection with nature. Or I'm going up to the ranch, up into the mountains, writing some more material, and I find that when I'm up there, it flows so much. I'm in the city at the moment. I try to be very connected and at peace wherever I am at, but what it is an ingredient in my life that is essential, connection to nature.
Yeah, and I think I find it as well, you know, one thing I will do is, there's a particular woods that I like to go into, and you can drive right into it. So if you walk for 5 minutes, you're really in the middle of nowhere, and it goes through it. And it's a great place just with the kids. I really find that if I'm sitting in front of a computer, and well, now I have trees in the garden, but there's still a lot of concrete around, and if you're in the kind of area with a lot of concrete, and it really it can re-energize it, just getting back into nature and into just as we're talking.
Just to make a point, that is to make a note there, Alan, it would be back to that subject, because I would like to show you what is the reason
Right, that'd be brilliant.
that you have that frequency in nature. It's very important. Okay.
Well, that'd be really interesting.
Okay, just make a note of it. So we spoke about the self-containment.
Yes.
And now the next one about self-discipline. Spiritual mastery entails, teaching ourselves to be constantly diligent and aware in observing our own mind,
Right.
our physical body talk, so that we may observe or catch ourselves out when we are negative. And you mentioned that earlier. And in the meditation this morning, before we went into, we did a body scan of how you felt before and after. As part of the teaching of to become aware of your body, your mind, so that you are aware. I'm going to speak to him in the morning and tell him just what now there's a lot of teaching around that deeply within that also, but this is about self-discipline, stopping that and changing that. We've got to put other information into this great, powerful consciousness. Spiritual mastery really does require self-discipline.
Yeah.
In the physical and the emotional and the spiritual.
And I just want to say first that the body scan was. I've heard you talk about that a couple of times, but I never was. But doing it today was really, really brilliant, and it's something now that I've learned that I can do myself, which is great. I can just do it each day.
Yeah.
But as far as the discipline is concerned, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. Would you consider things like getting up in the morning and exercising, or eating the right foods, or even doing work? Does all that kind of fit into the kind of self-discipline area?
Yeah. It feels like a discipline, but eventually the self-discipline, the freedom within it, because you begin to experience the difference in the reality, which in your life, which is happier, lighter, you feel better. If you physically feel better, you will obviously emotionally feel better. Most you feel emotionally better, it's much easier to do the spiritual work and become a master at it. So that physical, the emotional, the spiritual is a unity within itself. As we said earlier, we cannot do anything alone. Body cannot physically do this alone. It needs a good emotional support, essential to have the spiritual support, okay?
Yeah.
So yes, I do. For me to do this, the exercise discipline I do every morning now, I didn't like it in the beginning, to be quite honest. Really, I'm not very competitive against myself or other people. But now I love it. I do have an exercise program that I love in the morning, and it gets all the blood flowing in my body. Obviously, it affects the hormones of my body. I feel brighter and lighter. My meditation process, observing my negative thoughts, how I would now immediately work with them. I mean, I'm practicing this for years, but I consider myself more of a master of it in comparison to my past. I am not saying I'm better than anyone else at it, but I have certainly noticed and I embrace the changes that have occurred in my life with this process. But I still continue with my self-discipline. I still have my moments of negative thoughts or reactions because I'm still cleaning up my old perceptions, right? Now, as you said earlier, I'm aware of them. I'm aware of, and I do my body scan frequently, and I put into action the things I need to do to put it right. And yes, that self-discipline is with me daily. There really is freedom in life with that type of self-discipline. The self-discipline, it's something that I have cultivated. It didn't happen overnight. And sometimes I just didn't do it, and I didn't want to do it, and I didn't do it. I resisted. It's okay too. I said, I'm not going to fight with myself. I had my lazy days. I had my bad food days, my gluttony days. But more and more and more, I don't want those. I don't need them. When I keep filling my mind, body, and spirit with the discipline of self-love. Okay, and that's actually the next one is, self-discipline. The next point I work with is of the 12 responsibilities of mastery for freedom is self-love.
Is there a way that we can also teach our children discipline in the way you're talking about?
Yes, be it yourself.
Right, okay.
Be it yourself, so you are the example, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and they will pick it up.
Right. Sure.
And so you're teaching them that it's not, oh God, I have to do this, because now we're learning it a little bit later in life. They're doing it as children, and they see the fun in it.
Yes.
You see that, this is great fun. So they will always want to do it and want to do it because it's fun.
Yes.
The next one is self-love. And, this is about taking on the responsibility to love ourselves through the limitless gift of divine spiritual energy. Really, when you practice this more and more, you think, wow, I mean, you had an experience of that this morning, Alan, in our meditation. This expansion you felt within your body.
That's right, actually, yeah.
And by feeding that into our system, it is much easier to have this self-discipline, to really feel this deep desire to love your body physically, emotionally, and spiritually. This is about, self-love, and only you can do this for you. You cannot get it from anybody else. Only you can do it. This love, that it moves through us in every moment if you want it to be there. And it's an electrical, spiritual frequency that when we connect to it in our everyday, through our everyday loving actions for ourselves, it will always be there with us to connect, to protect us and guide us on the right path, to be the self-protector of ourselves.
Nice.
And really, this really true, powerful, genuine love can only be gained through the spiritual connection. We absolutely need that. So you absolutely need to look after the physical body, need to heal the emotional body, to fill it with love and light, erase the past traumas, and you absolutely need the spiritual connection. They're all essential to experience a better life.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing exactly what you're saying. And yeah, I guess different people will put different names on it, but I think most people can understand that meditation or either the spiritual connection or just the unseen. Even for a scientist, and any scientist would agree that most of the matter in the universe we can't perceive. Even infrared light we can't perceive, but we know it's there.
We know it's there. Yeah.
Scientifically we know it's there. So I think almost anyone can admit that there's a lot of the universe that we just can't perceive or can't see physically.
Yeah. Physically, yeah. But you will through meditation actually is really essential in this process also. So we have a lot of work to do. We need to get that meditation out online and also talk more about what is the purpose and the results of meditation. And only through that experience will you really understand love frequency.
I've found just from doing kind of 3 times a day for 10 minutes for about a little bit over a month, but it really changes your whole perception of everything.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one is spiritual integrity, and this requires that we begin to look at what we really, really are doing. You can say it's a spiritual integrity. It's physical, emotional, and spiritual integrity. Really, look at our eating habits. Are we violating ourselves to our eating habits? What are our habits, in the larger area of our life, our decisions? Are we violating the universe?
Right.
As a landscape architect, I eventually got to a point that I just could not use chemical anywhere.
Right, okay.
Right? And I would put into process other ways of managing my garden. I don't like to use the word control because as I became more spiritually aware and more universe, I began to see the weeds as another plant of the universe, and it had a purpose. Amazing when I came to Mexico and after the rainy season and in the September, October, the mountain is full of these amazing wildflowers. And some of the varieties, I would have paid a lot of money for them to plant in gardens in Europe and in Ireland. There they are going wild. The spiritual integrity changes your perception and everything.
Yes.
Do you say what you think in the right way, doing things that you want other people to hear so that you can feel good within yourself? So that's kind of a way we can be vampires. If we're saying something to gain approval or to gain something without integrity. So this is you can say, oh my God, this is a lot of work, but it is a massive, massive power towards freedom in your life experience. Through meditation, actually, it's a very powerful way to feed the consciousness all of this, and it's easier to put it all into action.
Right. The question would just come to mind. You're saying about are you violating the universe? Is there a way that someone knows whether they are or not? Is it just a feeling or an intuition that they have, or how would you know if you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing? Like, for example, using chemicals, as you were saying.
Yeah. Well, there was a time where I was unaware, and I didn't realize the overall grand universal effect chemicals were having. I was just unaware. So I don't want to be judgmental against people who are unaware, because as we said earlier, we've got to have self-containment, self-sovereignty, and self-actualization, and not be attacking other people who are unaware.
Yeah.
But in this process, when you become more aware, then you can be a teacher in a loving, compassionate way. I get so many opportunities daily in life, in a moment, going into a store to buy something, maybe end up in conversation over something simple, and just have a moment of saying, well, maybe that may not be a good idea because of this, or this, But I'm only aware of that. This self-awareness of this level of spiritual integrity for the universe came to me very naturally through my growth in awareness and loving myself. If I love myself, when I love myself, and now I do have to say that I have this greater cosmic connection, which is a consciousness that is really aware of everything around you, nature, people, animal. And I know that I love them as much as I love myself. I love myself as much as I love them. There is an innate awareness and desire and wish and power within me not to harm.
Right,
okay?
Right.
So I am not going to use a chemical. And now that is my frequency. And I do get many, many opportunities to educate people in the broader sense of being more aware of how to make decisions that are better for the good of all. Person who is using the chemical and they're unaware, the universe has this system of laws that must keep the universe in balance. So those people will receive their lessons, own personal, beautiful, honorable way to become aware that there is a better way.
Right.
And our conversation earlier about food habits and whatever, you're becoming more and more aware. And even in that, you become more aware of where's my food source coming from.
Yes.
I try to buy from all the local markets as much as possible. You can only do what you can do in your ability at the moment. But what does happen within this process, as you become more and more aware, the universe opens up more and more doors for you.
Right.
And it moves that way very easily.
Yeah, I think that is important. I do like to think to some extent about where the food is coming from, like buying free range eggs and things like that. But at the same time,
it is, and this frequency really does affect and change the frequency of the thing. Is the next one is amazing as we walk through these principles. You prompt the next point, which is appreciation, that you can actually reflect for a moment and fill your heart with gratitude and appreciation, no matter where this came from, with love. With that, I always put my hand over the food in the morning and I connect to the universe. I thank everyone from the depths of my heart. Gratitude for this beautiful food because it's sustaining my ability to move in this universe. And it changes the frequency. If there is any negative frequency in the food, that thought and that process alone will put it back in order perfectly for you and your family. This process is so powerful. Your thoughts are so powerful. You know how powerful they are. They're creating a reality now. Thought process is moving you and is creating a new reality for you. Just your thoughts.
Yeah.
So we can. I mean, I'm not going to go out today or tomorrow and buy organic food and then come in and be unkind to somebody I like. Have nasty, negative thoughts towards them. This integrity covers all areas, in the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual.
Yeah.
You can now see the largeness, the grandness, and the enormity of the possibilities of life living through this way of being. Now, that's not to say that within the self-discipline and self-love, and spiritual integrity, that it's okay to go out and buy a pile of processed foods and feed your family with that. Now, there is certainly enough information out there of that basic. Go to the supermarket and buy within your ability the best food that you know. We need vegetables. We need, not too much meat, enough for protein, and there's a whole other wonderful area of self-education of, what the body needs, proteins, minerals, vitamins, etc. So within your best ability, make the best decision of self-discipline, self-love, and spiritual integrity.
Yeah, I know. I think it is a bit of a journey,
It is a journey, and our everyday life can be the process to learn.
Yeah,
Not just
yeah,
some big thing. Oh, I've got to be with Bernie 4 or 5 hours a week or 2 hours a week to learn. No, keep putting all of these little things that you're learning daily for self-growth into action into your everyday life.
yeah,
You'll be able, drive that car of your life every day with more and more mastery. Appreciation, which is the next one. Appreciation and gratitude. We're constantly influenced to perceive what is lacking
yes,
in order to it's there to motivate us to buy more and more. That is the ego of most of business. I'm sorry, that's what it is out there.
it's true. Yeah, certainly the consumerism. There is rampant consumerism, which is different from just people making an exchange. But absolutely, I know exactly what you mean, because the news people will go out and they'll find every corner of the earth where there's something bad happening. They bring it all into your living room. Conversation.
It was a spiritual conversation at the weekend, and there was a spiritual teacher talking about sending love and light, and he brought up 3 individual, singular, negative events that happened in the local area. He focused on that, and everybody was going, oh, and I just said, hang on a second. What is the population of this whole area? And he says, well, 40,000 people, right? So I said, those were 3 incidents, negative incidents within a population of 40,000 people.
Yeah.
The 40,000 people got up every morning, went to work, are acting in a reasonable self-discipline, self-love, in the best way that they can, and they're not out there attacking or kidnapping or doing anything. So I said it's really important to focus on that first, and gather up all the love and nurturing from all of those people, and send it to the 3 people that acted. It was a violent situation.
Right.
And send them love and light, because they're hurting somewhere. So it's always trying to look at the light to heal the dark, to bring in the light. But there's always more light than dark.
Yeah,
trust me, there is.
But it's the 3 incidents that get the attention, and as you say.
Yeah, and this is what media and perception is. If we keep connecting to that, is that we're creating still from that childhood. The universe is not a safe place. The universe is a safe place.
Yeah.
If you stop attaching to all that negative news, cut out all that. I have to have this and buy that, and putting yourself under financial pressure, things really that you can't even use.
And it fits into the kind of need and wanting that we were talking to before. But as far as financial, there is a certain amount that people do need to, look after the families and to live
it's absolutely essential
life. Mm-hmm. But also I think there's another need also, that if you want to have a drink, it's useful to have a glass of water. But if you have a huge reservoir and you open that, you're not going to get a very good drink out of it. But there is a kind of need to have a lot, and sometimes that need is about, I've even noticed it myself, it's more of a fear thing, that a lot there in order to protect you.
Yes, yeah, and that's a very important point. All of this overindulgence we all have experienced, and many people are still experiencing. The root cause of that is lack of self-love, and we are seeking it through materialism. But there is no satisfaction. There's no end to this I need in that root. The soul is never satisfied. It's a bottomless pit. It's a void. It's never filled. And that's why the consumerism continues and continues and continues.
Yeah.
I mean, I went through that myself. So love, blah, blah, blah. After a month, it was something else, or even a week. And I can tell you now that I have my life experience with self-love, I truly do not want or need all those extra things.
Yeah.
I still have. I live in a beautiful home. I drive a nice car, but I am not my car.
Yeah.
I remember once buying a BMW because I thought this.
Yes.
And recently I had a meeting with somebody. It was in Ireland. And when we came out, the person said to me, big car outside, and we said, this is me. I said, you are the car? He said, oh, no. I said, well, that's just what you said, He said, you challenge me all the time. I said, no, but I'm just telling you, you are not your car. Car is a tool to get you from A to B. So this is what, in the spiritual journey, the spiritual integrity of self-love, self-discipline, self-containment, self-sovereignty, actualization. What you're actually doing is cultivating the reality, the awareness, the ability to appreciate more and more the smaller gifts and blessings. Now, the smaller seem smaller now in contrast to the ego world of all the other things outside of ourselves we feel we need because we're empty inside of this great self-love. When you fill your heart and your conscious with this, what seems to be the smaller thing, but is actually the bigger thing, the smaller things become bigger and more beautiful. So the leaf falling from the tree, the butterfly going from A to B, the bee on the lavender flower, the robin singing his heart out, the thrush in the morning. I remember outside of my house in Ireland, there's a tree to the right up the road of my house, and a thrush would sit up there in the morning singing its heart out. Never heard it, of course now I hear it.
Yes.
So the great value, financial value, spiritual integrity is that the gold is in this process. And yet you will still have money, you will still have all those things, but you're not working solely for the material thing.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about that, because a lot of people
you're not working for that. You're working for a completely different purpose, and it really does change your life experience.
A lot of people would have certain blocks to money and certain beliefs about rich people, that they're not good people and that kind of thing. And I always kind of felt that I like to see people doing good things and being successful, but I think that within appreciating the small things and doing things the right way, it's okay as well to create beautiful things, do good work and be paid for that. To even accumulate things once you're not kind of being drawn into it too much, or you don't need it.
Well, I think the important point here is that yes, you can have many things, many beautiful things, but the important thing is that you recognize that thing is not you. Thing is not there to build up a self of. You are not the awareness of that. It is not you. It is a separate thing that you are going to enjoy in your life, but your total identity is not in that. You're not looking for self-approval, emotional support, safety because you have a great big black BMW. You may still have a BMW because you enjoy the beautiful God creation of that thing, right? But it's not your identity.
Yes.
You're not attached to it for an identity. Your identity is you are God source energy, eternal God source energy, and your purpose is to keep expanding that through love and compassion and appreciation, so that you get to a point in your awareness that you really start to appreciate the little, beautiful, big, small, familiar things in your everyday life. And you're not always out there constantly seeking more and more and more because you feel unhappy, sad, victimized internally. Does that make sense?
No, it does, absolutely. There's a I do even notice it in myself that there is a difference between need and want, and there is I think want is kind of a lighter feeling. There's certain things that it's nice to have in your life, but I think for me, this might be different for other people, I don't know, but for me the need is more about safety, about filling the void, and about
because part of what you're recreating, cultivating in your awareness now is a really deep knowing within yourself of self-love. That maybe, again, we say this, there's no blame game. This is a process for everybody. There is not one person out there in the universe that is not working with a core issue in life. How much money they have or they don't have. We're all here working on something. So there is no blame game.
Yeah.
But with this process of cultivating spiritual integrity, self-love, connecting to really knowing who you are, what your purpose is, your everyday life, within your everyday life, you create a life that is at least half full all the time instead of half empty.
Yes.
Right? So you're actually seeing everything from a different perspective. You only have 2 cups in your kitchen and you had 70,000 beautiful china. You can't use that. It's a really old antique. It's worth this, that, and the other. They may be all gone, but I'm actually drinking from, and every time I do any spiritual work, I have this cup in front of me. It's a mug, beautiful design, floral design, and one of my students gave it to me. And I know she gave it to me in so much love. And I always put my cup of coffee into that cup.
Right, okay, yeah.
I have a warehouse stuff of Ireland that that's still in Ireland. I don't know where they're going to go. Cups and paintings and all sorts of stuff that I haven't seen or used for 2 years. And really, they will have a purpose, but I don't miss them. Really, it's full instead of half empty.
Yes. I know exactly what you mean. I've had flashes of that myself. It's funny you should talk about the cups, because as you were talking about that, I was thinking that years and years ago I was given a present of a cup that had my name on it from my sister, and she said to me about a year later, she's saying, "Oh, I could only get you that cup," and I was like, "I love that cup. Yeah, I love that. That was my."
You should really bought it with love. Looking at the smallest gift and the greatest blessing in it. That power is in it, and I really can feel the frequency of love from that cup, from that lady.
Yes.
So now you're beginning to see the real value in the material thing. It's filling your heart with this self-love, but not trying to satisfy an old wound.
Yes.
But the buying process and the attachment to those things is a process for everybody as well. I still respect it, because it's very painful. So and that's appreciation. The next one is patience.
Okay.
The patient, is the God source universe has its own plan, and trusting that together you and the universe, and it's wonderful. We had that conversation earlier. We are all part of this collaboration of energy in the universe. The universe can, together with you in the universe, create the perfect timing for you. But we have to trust to allow it to hand it over. If time does not cooperate with your expectations, can you let it go?
I've had that experience myself.
Or are you going to progressively frustrate yourself because it's not? Whenever I have the experience of something that I want to do, that I feel I want to do, and I get 2 blockages in that process on the universe. I said, okay, I know you're showing me something. And it is always, without a doubt, without an exception, the universe, through my higher consciousness, is instructing me, don't do it that way. We have a better plan for you. Right. But it's because of our needs. I have to have this impatient blocks all of that out, blocks out that wisdom, that awareness, that knowing.
Yeah, I've experienced that myself, that I felt like there was certain things that I needed to be doing, the directions I needed to go in, and it wasn't really the right time, but it was very frustrating because at the time you don't know when is the right time, or if the right time will ever come.
Yeah, well, as a practice, because the trust you build up through the results of the experience of stepping away from and letting go of the pushing something that it's not going the way that you expect to. It's just this constant pushing, and you can feel. I had an experience last week when I couldn't connect with you last week, actually, to the point that I almost deleted all a lot of information. I know you're telling me something. Now, I was in a place, in a situation that the universe wanted me to be 100% in that situation, and you had the experience. Oh, where's Bernie? And now you know me. That something has happened.
Yeah, I know.
I was touched. No, we haven't been.
You told me where you were, and it was a place that I should have known that it would be difficult to get into it.
So your life is half empty instead of half full. Negative experience. So, and it is an amazing experience to trust, stepping away from the blockage, going to plan. And just say to the universe, okay, you're showing me something else. Take time out. 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, I don't know. Everything comes to me in threes. Nice. And I said, wow, what a different experience. Now, just to give you a beautiful example of this, I was helping a man here through many issues in his life, and he really was wanted to work through more spiritual integrity in business.
Right.
And he was setting up another business, and he needed to buy land for this. I said, well, you go out there and look at the options. So this particular place came up on the market, and he really, really liked it. I went there, and I gave him my opinion. I said, yes, everything's a choice in life. I don't take people's personal power away by making the choices for them. Yeah. They must learn the experience, unless it's something very serious, and I just know, well, to protect the person from this really unnecessary negative effect, I will say that's not a good idea. Anyway, he went through the process of buying the land, and there were some blockages, and one was in my opinion, was just it was telling him a lot. And I said, this is telling you a lot. I need you to step back and look at it. Anyway, he didn't buy the land, couldn't buy it. And I said, and he was going through kind of a low experience. I really wanted it. It had everything. I said, no, you, from your perception, think it has everything. I know the universe wants you to have more.
Yes.
So step back. That's what he did. 3 weeks later, another property came on the market for an enormous amount of money less. And it had already got an office building and toilets, a beautiful landscape and trees in a better location.
Right.
And he really, really thanked me. He said, wow, that was an amazing experience. The habit is and need is I want. I need that now. The practice is step away from it. Have a look at it. Speak to somebody else. Get another opinion. Take the time out.
Yeah.
Because if it's not moving in the right way that you expect it to be, it's from there's something, the universe wants you to have something better and different.
Yeah, and it can be frustrating if you don't know. That story speaks to me a lot because I've been in similar situations myself, but without someone like you to talk to, where I would have been in the same situation, but I would have been just frustrated because I would feel, no,
you went achieving.
Yeah, I wanted that, I couldn't get it, and maybe there was some different direction to go, but I'm not seeing it, But I guess it's sometimes.
And you see, you cannot see it. You're not seeing it through because of the lack of self-love. You're making a decision out of a need to fill a need through pain, through shock, or something like that. And yes, many of us go through that process until eventually, for everyone, as I said earlier, there comes a time for everyone when they are ready to hear more information, to learn more, to grow in spiritual consciousness. So the patience is a very important process, but you will only understand it through the practice of it, through the experience of it, through the results of the experience of practicing it.
Right.
I mean, you listen to me 24 hours a day for the next 10 years. Unless you go through the actual experience of it, it means nothing.
Yeah, I think.
So if there's anyone out there listening and they're being impatient about something, go through the experience, step back and speak to somebody, think about it, think about why you really need it. Do you really need it? Or maybe the universe wants you to have something better.
Yeah.
The next one is number 9. It's kindness. When we approach the world through genuine kindness, sending love and respect to all of creation in honor of the God force, which is just pure unconditional love that lives within us and all things around us. This force of energy. That's why I just jump back a little bit. Why you love nature. So nature is ego-less God force energy transmitting love, healing to us. Right. So when we are in the living experience of kindness and humility, we're actually transmitting an energy of higher frequency. And that brings more of that like kindness, similar kindness back to us.
Yeah.
Through the universal backflow. What you give, you will receive.
Yes.
So the more you give it, the more you'll get it back. Actually, you get it back double. So that's a wonderful practice to put into order in your life, in your self-discipline, is kindness. Because, trust me, you will get it back. You'll get it back. And kindness in many different ways. You'll get it back through more kindness, through more love, more abundance.
I hear what you're saying. Kindness is important. Is there a possibility as well that being too kind or, being a doormat to people can be a problem as well? Having
Well, that's very important. You may feel you're being kind. If you're giving too much, you're not actually being kind. You are a little vampire energy looking for love in the wrong way, actually. And that's where you feel the doormat, because you're not getting it back in the way that, in your higher conscious knows. So giving too much is actually, you are looking for love, but in the wrong way. Right? And it's kind of, you have an agenda. You may not be fully aware of it, but so the effect is that the other person cannot appreciate it. Now, usually, if you're in a situation like that, always, you're giving too much. There's like a victimizer game going on between the both people. You're both little vampires.
Right.
You know, you're giving too much, they're taking it, but they're also taking energy from you. Does that make sense?
It kind of does make sense. On the physical level of things, it seems like you're giving a lot and they're taking a lot. But
in doing this, you know, what we're actually seeking is a substitute to our own personal God source connection. And this love is not his love, it's actually a need. And it implies the lack of something, which in turn implies a limited personal connection to source. So you're looking for love in a way that's a need.
Right.
Or you're giving through a need, love that is the correct self-love from God's source.
And it makes sense. And it's about having, know what the boundaries are and enforcing the boundaries.
Yeah. And you will know the boundaries. As you love yourself, you will understand through a natural God source wisdom the correct boundary. Actually good for you and the other person. So through this process of self-love through God source energy, you are really acting for the good of all.
Yeah.
Including yourself. And you're healing the other person. Powerful in knowing why, how, and where to say no.
Yeah.
Person may not like it initially, but eventually they will accept it because you know from your heart that you are respecting them and yourself. You're getting the wisdom through God's source energy, not from a perception from the past.
Yeah, because if you come from the wrong energy, it can kind of seem that you're being a bit cruel or something like that, and you're saying no sometimes. But
yeah,
I don't.
And there's an expression. Sometimes I've used it many times, even on my work. People coming to me and they are feeding off my energy. They're coming for classes and healings, but they're not doing any work.
Right. Yes.
And okay, I could take their money from them and continue on with that, but I certainly know that that's not spiritual integrity for me, and I would say, I'm sorry, till you're ready to do a little bit more. We're very kind about it, but I did have one lady and she slammed the door in my face. I just sent her love and light. She did come back. So yes, it's called tough love, but it really is a love of integrity, but that wisdom is not coming from me, from my ego. It really is coming through my God source.
Right, yeah.
I'm coming down to the bridge into my emotional awareness, into my mind, and through action through my body, my physical thing.
Yeah, everybody has their own kind of learn, and it's it's
their own unique process. Conservation of energy. That what comes to mind is waste not, want not.
Right, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So if everything we perceive is understood to be manifestation of God source energy, love, respect, we will all enjoy more respect, more appreciation, and more conservation.
Right.
So this is just not about conservation, it's conservation of everything. If I'm very aware here of actually the use of water, because rain and water is very precious here in central Mexico.
Yes, I'd say it is.
So I don't throw water if I have a bucket of water for a particular reason that I can throw it on the plants in the garden. I would use it that way. I'd spend longer than necessary in the shower or in the bath.
Yes.
And it's really out of my sense of respect for the ability of water. How I eat my food and what I eat in a way is conservation, because it's not that I'm saving food for millions of other people in the world, but I'm not going to I try never to waste food.
Yes.
So, there are just so many different areas. Maybe you can give me some feedback there on what you feel.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Just when you're talking, I'm thinking that I'm kind of the same as well. I won't waste food, and I will eat the food that's in front of me now, big preferences. And sometimes, you'd be throwing one of their dinners into the bin. But I guess that's probably a little bit different. But yeah, I certainly have always... But
I think if you're carrying... I know when you're carrying the frequency, you can share a moment. This information the children are absorbing. The vibration from your body and from the word, you can say... it's always a good idea to start out the meal with little words of appreciation.
Right.
Depending on how you want to express it, you can thank God, or you could say to the children, just let's have a little moment of reflection of where all this food came. Maybe we can send some love and light and appreciation to the man that maybe have carrots. Bring a story into it. Where do you think those carrots came from?
Yeah.
So that the man that planted those seeds. I know you could say for a fact that in the wintertime he's out there and it's very, very cold and it's uncomfortable. It's freezing. He put all that effort and work to grow those carrots, and sometimes maybe he doesn't get paid for 6 months, contract with, I don't know, Tesco or whatever. You can build up a little story where you bring in the awareness of more reflection of what is really happening around us, where things are coming from, puts more value into the experience.
Yeah. The other thing that kind of jumps out to me when you say conservation is there's a lot of talk about conservation right now as far as global warming and environment, but I also think there's a lot of negativity as far as making people feel guilty for being alive, and we all breathe out CO2. There is negativity in that as well. That
well, you see, and that's a very, very powerful point on a very, very powerful scientific reflection on what you've just said. Bruce Lipton is a great scientist on many areas of life improvement. He has actually proven that if you're emitting a high positive frequency, you cannot absorb, he says, and he's proven, all the negative charges and energies, and I don't know what they all are, scientifically, from electric and magnetic energies, these huge mass that for telephones, etc., proven that your body doesn't absorb that negative frequency when your frequency is positive.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. God's source energy is total protection, from my own experience. I used to get headaches when I was, the other person in the past running around. I'm not absorbing the frequency now. Anyone can check out Bruce Lipton on YouTube, and he has proven that. So this is where, this really powerful connection to God's source energy, we really are protected. And I haven't been to a doctor for anything now for over 13 years.
Wow.
Been to the dentist, but I haven't been to a doctor.
Yeah.
And anytime I do that body scan, and I have, I have many other processes which we teach in this process as well that I use to keep my frequency high. Do daily try to put these principles of mastery to connect to the highest source of God's source energy through conscience into action every day, and it is protecting my life.
I know from just meeting you that number one, you can feel the difference in energy when, and also you can see just from how you look in your skin, you look amazing, I had a lovely compliment from a gentleman in Ireland, and I had done some healing work with him before, and he came to me, he says, wow, he says, you look like a wild, fresh deer. Really grateful for that. Yes. I do feel that, actually. I do feel it, yeah. Great compliment, actually. That must have been an Irish guy, because they've the way with words,
So that maybe, Alan, because I know you can cut it here, that, well, the conservation.
I feel like the meditation at the start really it was really good for me. It made me feel a lot lighter, and also it took away a lot of the, I don't know, I guess just the heaviness, and it was. I'm gonna have to do that myself a number of times.
Yeah, and what it's actually doing is bringing you more into the awareness of, yes, it happened, but with the energy, the light, and everything, it's healing it. Only through that healing, through God's source light, will you ever know the wisdom of why you needed the experience, personal consciousness from that personal experience. We don't receive self-love when we're children.
Right.
We go on this great path of, and I went through the same thing. I am going to do this, and I did do it.
Yes, yes.
I was very successfully on the material side.
Yeah.
But that still did not fill that void in my life. Mm-hmm. So then the universe said, okay, now you've had that experience. Now you know the material stuff did not fill the void. You may think it did, but you still had a lot of conflicts going on in your life.
Yes.
What you're going through now is a much deeper, real, correct, spiritual growth. Let go of the idea that the materialism will heal and fill that void.
Yeah.
It won't. And what you experience now with money also is showing you that money on its own, as your identity to protect yourself, will never protect you. Never, never. Only this deep knowing of and accepting God's source love, that you will really feel grounded, safe, and protected Now you can take a little bit of the experience of when you did have financial support and you felt safer. You can take a piece of that and put that in your heart and connect to that safeness. Now triple it, trillion times more. And it is the only place that you're going to feel safe. So safe and so beautiful. God's source energy. And then when you have the extra advantage of money and things, but you really see the value. You see the value of that cup that your sister gave you.
Yes.
Now you are living a life of total freedom. Just a wonderful experience where you actually have everything. And then when you feel you don't have it, you say, you know, and you trust. Like you know the eyes of your son, the heart of your son. The universe wants to give you something better.
Yes.
So the sadness in your heart and the financial connection is that you're letting go of all of that negativity to bring in another reality. And in that reality is the total security, enjoyment of life, flow of abundance and all of that. It's coming from a different source.
Right. And it's, I did always kind of feel that a little bit that, I had this kind of bump of financial success and that was good. And I hear what you're saying, there's just some safety in that, but not while I did get a feeling that it would be lost, and for an amount of time, and then it would go into a place where it's more sustainable and that I can look after myself and be safe in a more sustainable way, and I would never go through those bumps again. But the question I always had in my mind, which I think is being answered now, is that, well, okay, I've had the bump of success, and I've had the failure, but what do I have?
Well, it's not a failure, remember?
Yeah, but what was kind of in my mind then was, how does this end? What do I have to go through? But I think it's exactly what we were doing today, going back into the past. I think that's exactly what I actually needed to go through to get to the other side.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So now you're seeing, and you can do that exercise with many other negative experience. So if you feel that you don't want to do it on your own, don't do it. I will guide you.
Okay.
If there's maybe one or two is very powerful, but I think you handle that one really, really well, the past, and you may be experiencing your childhood in school or whatever. Keep sending love and light to it. Keep sending love and light to it, and they will start dissolving.
Yeah. So I just keep going through that process and slowly dissolve it away.
Yeah. The next time we do some work, I'd like to do a healing process with you to show you how to handle negative reactions.
Okay.
Why you're having them, by taking the self-sovereignty, and self-actualization. So really taking full responsibility that negative reaction is something from your past memory coming up, and the other person is reflecting it to you.
Right. Because
I need to show you that. It's very powerful as well.
Because I have some very strong emotions about my own past, but recently I've also had even stronger emotions about people's past who's close to me as well, and I was surprised how strongly I reacted to that, like it wasn't even me.
I can't see it. I can help you.
Right, brilliant.